Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Messi and Co. 5 Reasons Sports. I am Gian, and we are here after a short but much needed break as Inter Miami have also taken a break from games. It's been about a week, a little bit over a week since Inter Miami played. There's been a lot of news, a lot of stuff coming out with Copa America, with Messi, new signings, rumors, a lot of stuff we want to catch up about. But we are here today, as always, my co-host, wonderful co-host Ashley Silvers, and we are also happy and excited to introduce a new guest on our show. You've probably seen him around through some of the local shows, Daniel Solana. So we'll give him a second to introduce himself, but he's going to be here to chop it up with us, talk all about a bunch of great, awesome stuff going on with Inter Miami, and again, just a bunch of fun stuff. We put out a question out on the Twitter just to kind of get a hold of some of the things you guys wanted us to talk about on today's episode. So we'll be making sure to touch on some of those subjects as well. But first and foremost, Ashley, how are you doing? And then after that, Daniel, we'd love to hear from you and see how you're doing as well.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. We are so happy to be back. That was a great intro, Gian. It's been, we had so much going on. We've been fast and furious with the games, with the news, with all that good stuff. We knew Inter Miami was going to have obviously this 2-week break, and with the international window starting, wanted to give ourselves a little bit of time to kind of recoup, get some things done, and we're back and we're better than ever, and we are going to continue having great guests, great discussions, so much to catch up on. But I'll let you go ahead, Daniel.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I've been listening to the pod since you guys started it, and been listening to the evolution. And I love the back and forth that you guys have, and I love how you cover the games, actually. So, I follow you on social media, and I catch you when you're out at the stadium. I don't get to go to the stadium as much because I got a 3-year-old at home. So, I go whenever I can. This year I've been a couple of times, but like I said, it's awesome and to talk soccer. And really, I think what the three of us love most is promoting the game that we love, especially here in our local market, right?
100%. Thank you. Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you and keep the conversation going. And that's a great place to start, catching up. So what do we want to catch up on? There's so much to catch up on, right? That's happened. The last time we all sort of spoke, it was, I believe, the preview for the game against St. Louis that we had, where it was the last game before Copa America for Messi and Suarez, and maybe a few others, but for sure Messi and Suarez. I can start by saying that was a crazy game, 6 goals in it that, makes it was definitely a thriller. I think it kind of helped cement what we knew, which is that there are definitely issues with this defense. And the good news is that the defense won't be changing during Copa America. The offense will be changing, which is obviously a little bit stressful, but clearly things to work on defensively. But it ended in a draw, hard fought draw. Hopefully we'll continue to build momentum. But, it's obviously it's 2 weeks removed, but what were just your kind of really quick high thoughts about that game and how it all ended up?
I think
I'll give this one to Daniel.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that we've gotten used to over the first few months this season with Inter Miami is a lot of goals in the games. There haven't been a lot of games where the goals have come at a minimum, right? Whether it be Inter Miami on the receiving end of some of those goals or them actually scoring the goals. There's just been a lot of goals. And that's been, I think, the most consistent thing at the beginning of this season. Now, I think the break couldn't come at a much better time. I think you could see after Nicolas Freire got injured, the defense just took 2 steps back. You thought that the team was, finally got a back four that was good, healthy, that could have good communication. And you saw a lot of good games out of, Alba, Freire, El Toto Aviles, and Chelo Wigan. But that injury really, really hurt Inter Miami. And I know it's a good thing that's one of the areas that's not going to be changing, going forward in the next 6 games as the team, loses those players that are playing for Copa America. But is it really a good thing that it's not changing? And I know you guys are going to get into it later, in terms of who else could be coming. But I mean, I think that's been one of the negatives of this team so far has been the defense, and losing one of your better defenders only makes it worse.
I couldn't agree more. I think it is definitely concerning where you're seeing a team that has been top heavy throughout the entire season, that the goal scoring has never been an issue for Inter Miami. But what has been a glaring issue is the defense. And I think that when you compound the issues that you already have at defense with one of your guys, your top defenders getting an injury, and then it just so happens that at that same time, for me, I think that midfield just hasn't been clicking as well, which just bled into the defense. It's already a very fragile point, and you've got Inter Miami as a team that's very offensive minded, that has its fullbacks that play really high up. So they depend on guys like Busquets, guys like Redondo, who's come back to be in that midfield, close down the passing lanes, making sure that then when they're building out of the back, that they're being precise with their passes and not lending themselves to counterattacks. And I just think that those two things happen to have kind of gotten downhill at the same time. And hence you've seen Inter Miami suffer a lot as of late, conceding 3 goals to Atlanta United, conceding 3 goals to St. Louis. You're talking about 6 goals in 2 games back to back. I think that is definitely a bit worrisome. And when we look at this break, I guess it depends how you see it, right? It couldn't have come at a better time in the sense of, it's almost like a timeout, if you will, in other sports. Like, when you're getting battered and beat down, timeout. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you wanted to go into this stretch of matches without some of your top players in good form, and it didn't happen. And I think that's kind of the tough part too. So now this is where the resiliency and leadership from some of these guys like Busquets and Alba, who are still with this team during Copa America, where they need to step in, come in with that veteran presence and calm this team down, and Tata Martino as well, and figure this out as they go into a really interesting stretch of games now without some of their top guys like Suarez and Messi, who we'll talk about coming soon.
Yeah, 100%. If I were to say to you, for 180 minutes of Messi and Suarez, you got 1 point out of 6. Would you be happy about that? No. And
No.
so that's a big problem. But to the other point, yeah, we're hoping that this has given Tata and the coaching staff time to figure out a better relationship with the defense and with the midfield. I mean, two things that happened around the same time was losing Frere, but also gaining back Redondo, right? And also knowing that there was this timer clicking, going, you have 10 more minutes of Messi, you have 5 more minutes of Messi, you have 2 more minutes of Messi. That was over everyone's head, right? On the team, of the fans, of the media. Everyone knew that we had a timer that was expiring. I think opponents knew that there was a timer that was expiring, and so it was no coincidence what we got this last week with him. And it's just about figuring out what they can do. And I think that's a great transition into kind of our next topic. And like Gian said, we asked about what do we feel is going to happen, right, with this. And so Celine responded on Twitter and said, where will Inter Miami be in the standings when Messi and Suarez return? And so that's sort of open-ended. Like, what do we think is going to happen during this break? Right now, as things stand, we're still first in the East, with Cincinnati nipping at our heels. We have up to 6 games that we'll be playing without them. Could be less, depending on how things shake out for Messi and Suarez. Matias Rojas, we don't know yet if he's going to Paraguay. We're going to make the assumption he is. And with that assumption, let's say we don't have those 3 players. Danielle, what do you hope I can say? If I were to say there's 18 points that we have, and we don't know if we're going to have those 3 players for 6 games, what do you think is maybe what you would be a perfect case scenario, and what would you be happy with, and then what would be a disaster?
I mean, I think the perfect scenario is all 18 points, right?
Well,
you have to look at the teams you're facing. I mean, Philadelphia this year hasn't been the Philadelphia that it was, of years past. They've had a very, very tough time at home, but they've been better on the road. It goes.
think we lost you,
Yeah.
Daniel. So you are frozen, but we will give it a second
by
or so.
Pachuca and the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Then you face who I think is Inter Miami's rival in Nashville. Those are three really tough games within a 14-day period. But I think Inter Miami has the depth to get all 9 points in those three games. A lot of people are going to call me crazy, but I've tweeted it out before. I think Inter Miami has the right combination now of young talent and veteran talent together to be able to withstand a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 game break of Messi and Suarez. And the one good thing is you have Campana, who really needs to prove himself. He's got 6 games now until essentially the transfer window opens to prove that he can continue to be Suarez's backup. And so I think he's the hungriest he's ever been, especially knowing he was snubbed by the Ecuadorian national team. So again, perfect scenario is 18 points. I'd be most happy with 12. Absolute disaster would be anything less than would be 6 or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta agree. You gotta shoot for the 18. I mean, that's got to be the mentality every time you go into for any team. The way that we I think discuss this as is not the same way teams internalize this. They're not thinking what's the most we can get out of a certain amount of games because we're missing these players. I think players, again, like some of these vets, they know they want to go out there and get every point possible. And that's the mentality. And I think that that's what they're going to try and go out there and do. And the depth of this team, I think, is probably one of the deepest teams that I've seen in MLS for a while. And they were built this way because they knew that they had such good talent that they were going to be called to their international duties. So I think that this team is prepared for this moment, and it's important for them to keep concentration, and I think that they can do it. I'm just looking at some of these games, and when we look at the next 6 games, I believe 4 out of the next 6 games are away from home. So that's, I think, one of the things that maybe worry me a bit looking at this schedule. But it's, you've got teams like Philadelphia that are in 8th, Columbus in 7th, Nashville in 9th. You look at some of these standings and you might think some of these games are easy, but in my eyes, they're not necessarily that easy. Some of these teams are strong teams that are on the come up, maybe started off not on the right foot. And how many times have we done previews of other games in the past and we're like, hey, we're going against 14th place, whatever, that ends up being a barn burner. Like, it's crazy. So I think that now some of these standings can be a bit deceiving, right? Then yeah, exactly.
Right? Everybody thinks
so now have fired their coach and who are having an absolute fire sale.
Yeah, so you can't just go based off the standings. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I think it's true, and I think that's a really good point. Like, it's not, it can't just be X's and O's. It can't just be 18 points, 6 points, 12 points. It's more than that. But we still do have the depth, and we have enough talent where we should be able to get a lot out of it. I agree. Leo Campana has to be as hungry as he's ever been. Also knowing that, look, if Suarez signs next year, like, he's going to probably get traded or potentially sign somewhere else, Leo Campana, and he has the makings to be a starter for almost any other MLS team. Maybe not every other, but of the 32, or he can start for at least 15 of MLS teams that are existing, and it's about showing that he has the capabilities. Robert Taylor cementing the fact that even if Matias Rojas is back, I'm starting at left wing. He can play in the midfield. Redondo and Busquets getting that chemistry back. Jordi Alba being a leader on the defensive line. These are all things that need to continue to happen with the absence of those players, and hopefully it will, because the team needs to feel like they can win without Messi and Suarez, and they need to feel confident in themselves and kind of get over that hump. So we'll be here previewing and doing commentary on all the games, and I'm sure we'll just kind of have to wait and see how it plays out, and to see how the players bounce back and keep trying to earn their spots. And that's the Inter Miami side, right? But the show is not called Inter Miami and Co. It's called Messi and Co. So that means that we have to talk about Lionel Messi and Argentina. And we got a question on Twitter as part of the responses from, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, Harisha Kesh, I think, something like that. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. Asking, what do we think about Argentina and if Messi will play a pivotal role in their run for the trophy? They've had one friendly so far. They have their roster. I mean, I think just this is kind of a side comment, but I couldn't believe that some of the roster cuts and choices that Lionel Scaloni made. I mean, some big names not making the Argentina roster for this, putting in some young talent. But yeah, what do you think? I'll start with you, Gian. What do you think, sort of from a bird's eye view, of how Argentina is going to play from their first friendly, and where Messi fits in their tournament aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that's even a question. I think he's going to be
he's probably going to be off the bench. He's not going to have a big role.
No, I mean, he came off the bench in this friendly, and I think that the reason he came off of the bench is, you know what you've got in Messi. He's in tip-top shape right now. The last thing you need for him is to catch an injury in a friendly game. So they just wanted to make sure they got him some minutes. I believe he came in like on the 70th minute or so, and he had an impact on the game. I think right from the very get-go of the game, he was getting himself involved in a lot of the plays. It's basically everything you see at Inter Miami, him being on all parts of the field, going into the midfield, going up front, facilitating through his playmaking, being, I think, a threat on offense at all times. But he's the motor of the team. He always has. And I think that, you know, some may think that because he won Copa America already, then he goes and wins the World Cup, that fire that he has for this team maybe isn't as, you know, as big as it has been. And I think that's quite the opposite. I think that he very much wants to go out and leave Argentina, if he doesn't make it to the World Cup, on a high note, giving this team its second Copa America over the last few years. And I think that that'll be huge. And I think that everybody's going to appreciate that from Messi. But I don't think the expectations are there on him that there were before, as you know, he was trying to win trophies for Argentina. I think that he's finally gotten that burden off of his shoulders, and you can see the way he plays. He plays freely. He's sitting on the bench, enjoying himself, and just, you know, sitting back, and he just looks so relaxed. Quite a different Messi that we saw before him finally winning that World Cup. And I think that we're going to see that on the pitch. We're going to see a Messi that is having more fun, enjoying himself, being around his Argentina teammates. And again, this team depends very much on him. And I thought one of the things that I'm going to mention here that I thought was interesting is, especially and we'll touch on this in a bit, the links that Inter Miami, the players that they've been linked to. You know, Angel Di Maria goes and scores a goal for Argentina, and I think that was fun to see as well. Just, you know, with all these names that are attached to Inter Miami. But yeah, Messi's going to be a huge part of it, and I think that if he wins Copa America, if you didn't think that Messi could be any more locked in for Inter Miami, I think if he wins this, we're going to see another level, like a Super Saiyan Messi. It's going to be incredible.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. And going into the Copa America, obviously winning the last Copa America and winning the World Cup, Argentina is the clear favorite. There is nobody that is even close to Argentina. I'm from Uruguay, and I'm biased, and I'm telling you that. That's just the how do I think Messi's going to play? How he's always played his entire life. Everything's going to go through him. Everything is going to go through him. He's that type of player. And I think you saw that on yesterday's friendly. When he didn't play that first half, the game was kind of stale. You know, it was almost like Argentina was missing the funnel that everything goes through. And then when he comes in, it's almost like a snap of a finger. And you see that with Inter Miami as well. And that's why you have to love watching Messi. Even, again, not a Messi hater, but, you know, I love Suarez more. That's just me.
I wonder why.
But I mean, you just got to love to watch Messi play. It's just the magic he plays with, the vision he plays with. As a fan of football, just getting to see him play week in and week out is unbelievable. So I'm excited for this Copa America, guys. I think it's going to be awesome. And like you said, Gian, he's playing with that, I guess, weight that he had prior to winning the World Cup. And I guess he feels more like a kid again, playing, you know, just with his friends. And I think that's going to make a big difference in how you see him play this tournament versus how he's played other short tournaments in the past. So do look, on that. And I'm looking for a Uruguay-Argentina final. I don't know about
I agree. Can I say that if it's not Argentina, I think my next top two are Brazil and Uruguay. I think those are probably the next two for me, if it's not them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think, yeah, I agree with everyone here. I mean, look, it's actually also, I think there's some subtext and subplot to it, right? Like right now, especially in the training and the clips, Messi seems like physically he's great. He's, better than he's been in a long time. He seems to be pretty much fully healthy, excited, energetic, loving what he's doing. And I think if he either wins or makes it very far in this tournament, I think that they might be in the back of his head. They're thinking we can end with the World Cup. We can end with the World Cup. It's especially if he stays for Inter Miami for 2 more years, he can end at the World Cup. He can be in America. He's going to still be in America. He's going to be training here. Argentina headquarters is here. If he feels good and he's continuing to play at this high level, I mean, he's the MVP favorite right now in MLS. He has an insane amount of goal contributions. He's playing great. He seems so happy. He seems healthy, all those things. Yeah, I mean, if the tournament goes well, I think, look, we could hopefully, as an Inter Miami fan, I'm also saying, with the World Cup being here, he may try. It's only 2 more seasons. He has one more in contract. He may just try and end on that high. And so that is something we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's interesting. We all have really strong horses in the race for this Copa America. Obviously, Gian from Ecuador, Danielle from Uruguay. I am from the US, and I was not very happy with what I saw this past weekend, but I'm hoping the team turns it around, and that can be an episode on its own, the US soccer
yeah.
team.
My wife's
Um,
from Ecuador, so that's
Oh,
my
that's
second
cool.
horse. So
That's
Oh, there you
awesome.
go. Well,
Oh,
and
that's
my
awesome.
my other horse is Messi. I'd say it's probably 50-50 Argentina and US. I mean, until they play each other, then I'm probably going to lean towards the US, but I don't we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But it's going to be a great tournament, and we're going to be doing some separate content about Copa America as well that we've been kind of alluding to over the last few months. That it's something we wanted to do and that we're really excited about. And Danielle, I think we'll have you if you want to join us for that as well, because you obviously have so much knowledge about these teams in CONMEBOL and in CONCACAF, and it's a really exciting tournament. There's a lot of good teams. There's some not so good teams, but I think there's a lot of great teams and a lot of good teams, which makes it to be what I think is going to be a really interesting, gripping tournament, right? Where, yeah, there's a couple favorites. Of course, you always have Brazil, you have Argentina, but there's Uruguay. There's a lot of other teams that are really good and that can easily go on a good run. And I think that's what's going to make it a really exciting tournament.
you also had Canada come out of nowhere and tie France 0-0 after
It's true
losing.
too.
It's that's what I'm saying. It's absolutely nuts. And to me, the Copa America is the greatest tournament soccer tournament in the entire world. Better than the World Cup, better than Euro Cup, and not because of the play styles, but just because of the pure passion of the players
Yeah.
and the fans behind it. There's
100%. Yeah, I agree. I mean, look at Colombia. I mean, obviously, like I said, the US played terribly, but Colombia looks great. They're on, I think, like a 17 or 18 game unbeaten streak right now. They're going to be very lofty competitors. Yeah, it's going to be a really good tournament. So we'll get to that. And, Messi and Argentina are the favorites. We hope he stays healthy and continue to be kind of, the leading force of that team. But now I said we are Messi and Co, but we are also an Inter Miami show. So going back to the Inter Miami point to kind of summarize, and I think it's something we all have been wanting to talk about and that we've had discussions about. I saw a couple questions on Twitter to address the last two. One from One Piece United, and then from Marvin Navarro, who said, "Feels like every week there's a new rumor about team bringing someone in. Realistically, who's most likely to end up here?" And then also a Diego Gomez update. So I'm putting those two things together because it's all about sort of team updates, new signings. Something we saw happen on the last day of during the St. Louis game that we haven't talked about yet on the pod was that there was breaking news that for Diego Gomez, West Ham in the Premier League in London was really interested in signing him, as were a few other Premier League teams, and for something like a $16 million fee, which is double what both me and Gian were predicting. We're like, if we can get somewhere between 6 and 8 million, like they should do it. For 16 million, that should already be signed. And I love Diego Gomez, and he's been fantastic for us. But with the team and the structure we have, the roster we have, the players we need to sign in the summer window, Diego Gomez is a player that for that amount of money should probably be going, because it means, we have a very good midfield. He would start normally, but if he's not there, we have other players who can take his place. And so before we get into just the overall new signings and new ideas and who we want, who we don't want, I'm curious, Danielle, what is your opinion on Diego Gomez and hearing that potential fee from West Ham?
I agree with you 100%. Anything north of 10 million, I take.
Yeah, agreed.
And I've been a Diego Gomez supporter since day one. I remember back, when I was hosting another podcast, we had a show and we just talked about Brian Aguirre, who is currently playing for Colón in Argentina, and we talked about Diego Gomez, that those were the two signings that were possibly going to happen. And then Diego Gomez ended up happening. And I saw a bunch of his highlights and watched, about a half a dozen of his games. And I was really, really excited. And then he just kind of like fell flat last year. It was just like he was a nobody. And I think he had a little bit of like awe with like Messi playing there, and he just didn't like, he was kind of in awe of Messi. And that's my opinion. He was just nervous, not
join
ready.
The club.
Exactly. But this year, I mean, and especially after that pre-Olympic tournament, I mean, he was just a new person. He looked like last year he was a child. This year he came as an adult. And that's what I loved. And again, Inter Miami, if it's really 16 million and they don't take it, it's absolutely nuts. I think it's nuts. They have to take that. Now, in terms of, I mean, and they would get like 6 million or something of that back from what I've, understood about the salary cap. They would get, Inter Miami would get something like 6 million of that back. So it's a lot of money that they could spend in the summer transfer window, and there's a lot of interesting names.
Yeah. What do you think, Gian?
So I feel like, obviously, if you're getting that amount of money, when you're already, and your deepest line is a midfield line. So you already, I mean, that's not a worry to me. So if you can get that amount of money, I think you definitely move him. I also think that he's kind of like, that move happening, I think, is what kind of snowballs and opens the door for a lot of other things to happen with Inter Miami, because you think about that third DP spot with Leo Campana, that money allows you to buy down his contract, get him out and free up a DP spot. Then that opens the door to things like other players that you've maybe been rumored that maybe might hit DP status level with their types of salaries and that sort of thing. I don't know. And Angel Di Maria comes to mind. I don't know how much Nacho would command as far as money. Yeah. So I think that kind of would open the door to a lot of different things, but you definitely, that's something that we had talked about before, as well as the possibility of him moving during the summer, when there was an interview with his agent about a month or so ago, where he said that they had already received offers from different teams, one named Brighton from England. And he specifically mentioned that they already had talks with Inter Miami, and Inter Miami very much understood that this was only a momentary, I guess, a stopping ground for him on his journey to Europe, and that they gave their word to Diego Gomez and his agent that they wouldn't put any difficulties in allowing him to move on. So we'll have to see what he wants to do. I think that Inter Miami wants to keep Diego Gomez maybe, a bit more, but if the money, you put that money in front of their face, and there are other needs now that this team needs more than anything, I think that's definitely a go. And then that also goes to the next part of the conversation, which is let's say you're hearing about Nacho and you're hearing about Angel Di Maria. What's the priority? I mean, I think it's defense. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, that's a big it's a great topic. I think that it is defense. But if you're asking Lionel Messi, he's like, you want me to stay for 2 more years? You want me to extend the contract for at least 1 more year? Then I want Angel Di Maria. And I think that, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth, but I think we'll see how it all turns out.
Yeah, I do want to, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. One of the things that I did want to mention is, and there was a really good discussion. I really, really loved this discussion that Daniel and I had I was tweeting from our Messi and Co. Twitter about a specific defender that was recently linked to Inter Miami. And this is somebody that you probably have even more expertise on than I do, and more knowledge on his game. And his name is Gaston Silva, defender from Puebla, center back. And he is a guy that comes with a lot of experience. He's 30 years old. He played for the national team for Uruguay, was part of eliminatorias, the World Cup qualifiers. I hope I'm not mistaken, but I think it was like a 2018-ish, 2019. That was kind of when he was in the midst of his career with the national team. He's recently played in Cartagena before, I think, going to Puebla. So basically what I tweeted, and this garnered a lot of attention and varying opinions. I basically said,
I want to put it on record. This wasn't my tweet. This is
Gian. Yeah, this was me tweeting. So basically, I put, Gaston Silva is coming from last place team in Liga MX Puebla. So not only are they in last place, but they are also the team who has received the most goals. They have received 43 goals. The next closest team that has scored on the most in Liga MX had 35 goals. And the point that I was trying to make here, and again, sometimes when you word things on Twitter, maybe they don't come out exactly how you intend them. But what I guess I was trying to say is, I mentioned to those who saw the tweet, how do you feel? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? And what I was trying to allude to is a team like Inter Miami, who is one of the most scored on teams in the Eastern Conference in MLS, who struggles defensively. Is it, I guess, the right approach to look at a defender in one of the last place teams and one of the teams that has got scored on the most? And I guess that's where I was coming from, where I don't think that was maybe the best decision. Look somewhere else is what I was trying to get at. I want to get your point of view, Daniel. What do you think? Does it really matter when you're looking at a team, what that team's defense looks like when you're looking for a specific player? I want to know, is that important to you? And then what are your thoughts specifically on Gaston Silva? Do you think that despite the team being poor defensively, could he be a good option for Inter Miami?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So to answer your first question, I think, and to back you up on your tweet, I think your tweet was correct. I think the way you're thinking is right. Now, the reason why I kind of went back at you is because I know Gaston Silva, and I've followed his career very closely since he started in Defensor. So I've seen his career develop, and specifically, I know the type of player that he is and he can be. And then I go back and I look at Inter Miami's back line, and I look at who we have there at left center back, and really the only options that you have there are Christoph. Maybe you can put Busquets in there. Possibly Ian Frey might be back there. Could he be ready? I don't know. And I look at those options, and maybe Noah Allen, who's had an option, and still, I think Gaston Silva is, much better than that. Now, knowing that Freire, who was also, and I had a lot of conversations with a lot of folks who watch Liga MX. One of them is a well-known YouTuber, Sebas Crackball, and he followed the team that Freire was playing on, Pumas, and he told me, he's garbage, and he just gets injured all the time. But look, he came and he was probably our best defender. So my whole thing is, I know Gaston Silva, I know what he's capable of, and he's a lot better than anything we currently have on the roster today. Obviously, I'm talking about center backs, not Jordan Alba or we got, right?
Yeah.
But, and I think he would make a good fit. Now, what if I could tell you that Inter Miami could get Gaston Silva, could also get Angel Di Maria, and could also get one of the premier defenders in MLS all this summer?
I mean, I'm taking it all day.
And I have it on good word that Inter Miami is Di Maria is, if it's not in the summer, it'll be in the winter.
Yeah.
And Nacho is not one of the priorities. Gaston Silva and an MLS defender will be the priority in this transfer window. So I can't tell you the defender's name, but somebody really good.
Well, and so based on that, I like it. I think that, look, there's probably a lot, or not a lot, but there's probably a few versions of a Gaston Silva that exists, right? That is from a team that we probably don't watch as much, and he's maybe in his late 20s, early 30s, someone who he's not super, super old, or like, you know, like a Kristoff who sometimes feels like he's just a step or so too slow. He's not quite there, but he's experienced. He can help someone like a Tomas Aviles who clearly has so much talent and has so much ability, but does not have great discipline and needs that help, right? He needs someone to help him with that. And so there's probably a couple different versions of a Gaston Silva that maybe it's, again, not playing for the best team, best record, but can fulfill a role that we need. And to your point, Danielle, I think that there's about right now a 99.98% chance that Angel Di Maria has already signed his contract for Inter Miami, or the agreement has been put in place, whether it's for July or if it's for January. It's already done. It's already figured out, and it's just about figuring out those last details, right? And his health and all those different kind of factors. But I think it's a done decision. And I also think from a very selfish point of view, that is my priority because I want Lionel Messi to extend his contract to 2026. I don't want him to end in 2025. And I think he is planning, as long as he's healthy, I think that's his plan too. And I think his plan is he's seeing how it's grown. He's seeing that it's good play. It's exciting. It's fun. The team is doing well. The club as well. The environment's been fantastic, that he can end his career here. And that's going to be the plan. So, and Angel Di Maria is definitely a part of that plan. So to your point, if the solution is maybe we don't get a Nacho, maybe we don't get a Sergio Ramos, but we get one or two good defenders, solid defenders who are not, maybe they're not game wreckers, they're not game changers, but they're solid and they're consistent. That's really what we need. That's what this team needs. It needs just defenders that's not going to blow over and create huge holes and issues like what we're dealing with right now. But they don't need to be game savers because we have game savers, and they're Busquets, they're Alba, they're Messi, they're Suarez, they're Angel Di Maria, they're Federico Redondo. We have enough game winners. We just need consistency.
I have I know we're wrapping up here, but I have a question for Daniel based off of that last comment that you made. I want to know, in your eyes, if Gaston Silva comes to this team and another MLS defender, if you're Tata, are you putting Gaston Silva with Aviles, or is it Aviles and this new defender that you think might arrive to Inter Miami? Or is it Gaston and this new defender? There's three names there. If you're Tata, what's happening? You don't have to reveal the name, but I
love your question, but I'm telling you this. If this defender comes, it'll most likely take trading Toto Aviles. Which is something that I would be okay with, because this defender and pairing him with Gaston Silva, I think puts Inter Miami like absolutely 100% in the championship picture. Like no doubt, like win now 100%, because I think, and Ashley said it, Toto has so much talent. It's like he just can't get over the hump. And I think Inter Miami is in win now, and they see that. And if they can trade him.
Yeah. I think we lost Danielle for a second there, but win now, agreed. I think it would be, 100%. If it's win now, or at least win for the next 2 years, Toto Aviles can go to a team that is building and that, you know, is maybe trying to win in 2 to 4 years where they think they're going to ascend. And Toto Aviles can be part of that game plan. I agree. I will ask you one final question. And this, Danielle, thank you so much for joining. It's been so great hearing your insights, both for Inter Miami and also for Copa America. Hopefully we'll have more to come. Tell me this. Is this defender play for an Eastern team or a Western team? That's my only question. We will figure out the rest.
I'll just tell you, this guy can run for miles and miles and miles.
Got it. Okay. That tells me a lot. And that's what I was hoping you were going to say. So what a great episode this was of Messi and Co. Thank you again, Danielle, for joining us. Gian, thank you for joining as always. Thank you guys also for letting us have that little break and for regrouping and waiting patiently. We're back in full swing. We'll be having multiple episodes a week. We'll be doing previews. We'll be doing post games, and we'll be doing coverage of Copa America and Messi and Argentina. That's going to be an incredibly excited tournament. If you want to keep updated with what we're saying, with team news, with roster news, with Messi news, make sure you're following us on X at Messi and Co. Make sure you're following us on YouTube at 5 Reasons Sports and have that notification bell on so that you're seeing these videos and you can leave your comments and let us know what you think. But for this week's episode of Messi and Co., I'm Ashley, that is Gian, and that is Danielle, and we will see you next time.